kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.
Hey, Squid. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the darkside tire. And by darkside tire, I think by now, if you guys have been watching my channel, you know that I have a car tire on my motorcycle. And it's something that a lot of motorcyclists give me grief about, mainly because they don't understand it. And I never understood it until I met somebody that did it. But to give you the brief of why I even started it, is I rode cross country on my DL650, and I met two riders along the way that I stayed with on a tent space sort of thing. And one guy in particular had a DL650 red, same year, and he had a car tire, and I was like fascinated. I thought it was kind of weird, and I never even thought about doing it. But on this motorcycle trip, where I did about 20-something thousand miles across the United States, I ran 2 rear tires and 2 front tires. The front was already pretty worn, so it's a given. But I can't help think that if I had a darkside tire at that time of the trip, it would have been a much better option for me. Because I don't know about you, but I've seen riders who have gone to Alaska and they carry tires with them, and I think it's rather silly, but it makes sense because putting tires on the road is very expensive. So when I got back to DC after this cross-country trip, I needed another rear tire, so that was my 3rd rear tire. And then I told myself, you know what, I'm going to try this car tire. The car tire is like $100. If I don't like it, shit, I'll just, you know, switch it out for a motorcycle tire, no big deal. So what ended up being is that I actually like the darkside tire. It rides a little bit differently, but you get used to that very quickly. And now I don't think I would ever put a regular motorcycle tire on my V-Strom ever again, or adventure bike, or like sport touring bike. I think if I had a full-on sport bike, maybe I wouldn't, and only if I rode it on the twisties, and only like a little bit. If I commuted, man, a darkside tire will save you so much money. A lot of people ask me, how does the darkside tire handle? And you would think that it's a car tire, it's flat, it's not going to handle well. But the truth is, it handles about 95% as well as a motorcycle tire. It really does. Like, you can push it just as much as a motorcycle tire. On a motorcycle tire, why is this guy driving in the middle of the road? Idiot. On a motorcycle tire, I can be a little bit more aggressive. But I find that if I'm riding so aggressive that I need a motorcycle tire, then I'm riding too fast for the street. Now, I would never use a darkside tire on a track. Like, if I was to do a track day, I would rather have a motorcycle tire, because it's a little bit easier to corner and push your limits a little bit better in a motorcycle tire. So when it comes to handling, really a car tire on a motorcycle handles about 90 to 95% as well as a motorcycle tire. So no big deal. And if you're a commuter, you're riding highway, you'll never even notice it. But if you ride twisties, you will notice it in the twisties up to a certain point. I think in my riding style, since I don't push the bike, you know, I ride like at 70% of what my capability is. What is the price of a darkside tire? You know, surprisingly, the BF Goodwrench Comp 2 Sport that I have on my DL650, I think it cost $120. By the way, I could have gotten a Shinko something or other tire. I think it's like whatever. I just bought one for my front, and that was $50. I believe I can get a rear Shinko for my DL650 for about $50 or $60, and a better brand like Michelin or Metzler might be $140. Now the cost of the darkside tire is actually higher up front because you have to install it, and generally I take it to a car shop to install, and they charge you about, you know, $50 to $60. Normally it's like $15 to put in a car tire, so it'll cost you a little bit more up front with the car tire, but over the span life of the darkside tire, you actually save money because the cost per mile actually decreases quite a bit. So instead of you know, having such a short amount of life on a motorcycle tire, you have this really long life on the tire. What is the lifespan of a darkside tire on a motorcycle? You know, a lot of the life of a tire is dependent on how you ride, and you can see videos of how I ride on my DL650. In the twisties I tend to be a little bit more spirited, and on the highway I tend to be a little bit more conservative. A motorcycle tire, for example, I think, you know, I've run dozens and dozens and dozens of motorcycle tires over the years, and I've never really gotten over 10,000 miles on a rear tire. And I think a lot of people online, they go like, oh, you can get 15-20,000 on the rear on a motorcycle, and I've never thought that to be true, and it's never been my experience. I also think those people are lying to themselves, and they don't keep very good records. Most motorcycle tires, it also depends on the motorcycle. On my R1 I was getting 5,000 miles per rear, and same thing with sport touring bikes. I had an ST 1300, for example, that was 5,000 miles per rear. It was heavy, it was powerful. Now a DL650 might get 10,000 miles on the rear, depending on how you ride. So you can see that motorcycle tires do not last a very long time. They don't. They're made out of a compound that's a little bit softer. They have started making tires that have dual compounds. So in the middle, the flat spot, I guess, they have a harder compound, and in the sides they have a softer compound for cornering. And that's nice. Those tires do last quite a bit, but they still don't last more than 10,000 miles. I mean, if you're riding with 10,000 miles, over 10,000 miles, you're pushing the lifespan of the tire. Now, on the darkside tire, the lifespan of the tire, I estimate that my BF Goodwrench will last me 30 to 40,000 miles. The only reason I got rid of my last BF Goodwrench was that I got a flat tire, and I believe I got the flat tire with about 16,000 miles or so, and the tire was still pretty brand new. I just was not able to patch it, so I got a new one. So imagine, I already got 16,000 miles on a car tire, and that tire's been through quite a bit of like riding to Deal's Gap, 2 up with luggage, quite a bit riding 2 up. So just keep that in mind, that when you ride 2 up, you do wear out the tires a little bit more, because your tires last a whole lot more. And I bet if you picked a harder compound, the tire would last a whole lot more, because there's not that much weight on a motorcycle. People ask me, will your insurance company insure your bike in the event of an accident if you have a darkside tire? And the simple answer is yes, they will cover it, and every insurance company will cover it, because a car tire is branded DOT. It's a standard that goes across all the tires, so it doesn't really matter if it's a bike specific or car specific tire. That's badass. So, you know, a lot of people, they go like, yeah, you're gonna hurt yourself, the tire's going to explode going down the road. And that's another like thing that people make up. I suspect these people they have zero experience with car tires on motorcycles, and most likely people don't have experience, but they want to be experts. They would rather make up a lie because they see it as saving your life by making up a lie. I had a guy online who he said he was an EMT and he saw these darkside tires all the time on his runs, and the BMW guys, they kept putting darkside tires, and these accidents were due to the tires. And you know, I asked him to provide some proof, and of course he couldn't, because there was none. None of these bikes had even darkside tires. Because what people do is like they think that this practice is so dangerous that they're willing to lie about how many accidents they've seen, because I haven't really seen a darkside tire accident that was due to a darkside tire. Look, imagine this. If I ride on this gravel right here on a motorcycle tire and I crash, it's not because of the motorcycle tire, right? It's because I hit gravel and I crashed. It's the same thing with a darkside tire. If I went into that corner, I hit it and I fell, it's not due to the motorcycle tire. It's due to me not being careful and not observing the ground. Same thing, like if there's a car making a left turn in front of me right here and I hit it, that has nothing to do with a darkside tire. You know, the reason that motorcyclists are so close-minded, it's because society is based on groups. It's either you fit in a group or you don't. And it's kind of funny because a lot of motorcyclists, they want to feel like they're like a lone wolf, dangerous out in the world, but they're just like everybody else. They want to feel good in a group. If you're really that concerned about my safety for having a car tire on a motorcycle, you shouldn't be. The more important thing, if you want to help people with their safety and health, hey, look at that. And health is to basically maybe start talking about obesity. Obesity arguably kills more people than darkside tires. And cancer. Like, why not spend your energy on things that really matter? Because when people like go on my YouTube channel and they bash me for being stupid, and I'm like thinking, man, you know, like, do you know I work out every single day? I ride a bicycle for like miles and miles. I jog every day. That's how serious I take my health. If I thought that this was like very dangerous, then I wouldn't be doing it. So Squids, if you're thinking about putting a darkside tire on your bike, you know, I'm not going to say that I'm not endorsing darkside tires on bikes. It works for me, and if you want to try it, I mean, nothing is stopping you other than yourself. How to install a darkside tire. This is something that comes up on the videos as well. To install a darkside tire, it's the same process that you do a motorcycle tire, but the motorcycle tire is more flexible. It's thinner, so it's easier to put on the rim, and most of the time I put on my own motorcycle tires. Now the car tire is much harder. It's like a very stiff compound, so you probably should take it to a bike shop. And yes, there are bike shops that will install it. I've heard of some darksiders that have taken it to bike shops and they refuse to install it. If that's the case, just take it somewhere else, no big deal. There are some motorcycle shops that will do it and make you sign a release. There's some motorcycle tires that will just do it without any questions. But my way of installing it is to take the rim to a car shop. They'll install it, no questions asked. You basically pay $15. I think I paid $40, but to me it's well worth it. I'm not going to be installing a tire anytime soon. How does the darkside tire handle on the road and on the highway? So far I've done quite a bit of riding with the darkside tire, and for me it handles extremely well. Like I said before, it handles about 90 to 95% as well as a motorcycle tire. Yeah, that's right, it handles that well. Like, you're really not going to feel too much. The only thing is, in the beginning it takes some time to get used to, but I found that it takes some time to get used to motorcycle tires too in the beginning, but after 1,000 miles or so, the feeling of riding the darkside tire goes away. If you ride, of course, on the highway or you commute, there's no difference at all than a motorcycle tire because you're constantly going straight. But when you start to lean, the thing that you do notice, there's a little bit of a rise, and that's pretty much it. And the way the tire kind of leans, it doesn't lean, it kind of flexes that way. But if you're riding in a pretty good clip, nothing happens. It just kind of it just kind of flexes a little bit as you go around turns. Most people would think that oh yeah, flat tire's not going to go around corners, but it'll go around corners just fine. And you can watch some of my videos and see that I can go around corners just as well as anybody goes. I definitely ride a lot faster on a motorcycle tire than I do a car tire, but I'm willing to knock off like 5 or 10% off my top speed and aggression for an extremely long life of a tire. If you're touring, for example, that's a perfect system. I mean, this is why I really wanted to get the darkside tire, because I do a lot of touring. I like to go out for very long rides, and when you go out for very long rides, man, a tire that can just do 20,000, 30,000, 40, 50,000 miles in one tire, holy cow, that's an amazing... Oh, look at that, a cop over here. Yeah, that's kind of dangerous. That cop was there. That's kind of funny. I am glad I am riding this thing. That cop would have gotten me. I usually go through here pretty fast. Oh man, go out and get a darkside tire, man. You're not going to explode like these idiots online that are experts by not being experts. Squids, everybody on the internet is a self-proclaimed expert, and I'm not an expert on darksiding at all. I've only been doing it for maybe a year, but it is frustrating when you talk to people online who they talk about the bead of the darkside tire, how it's not going to hold, and it's all bullshit because they have no experience. They don't have any proof, any data. They're just regurgitating what's on their mind, which is primarily what the internet is. I could have done that. I could have like just seen these guys on their car tires and been very like anti-darkside tire, but I wanted to try it out before I made any judgments, and I did, and I found that it's like just incredibly easy. Like, it's not anything. I mean, you're not going to notice it. That's the best thing about darkside tires, is that you might think that you're smarter than them, and you might be, but you're certainly not as experienced. Think about this. The reason these guys are putting car tires on their bikes is because they ride so goddamn much more than you probably will in your entire life. These guys rack up so many miles that they're putting car tires on their bikes. Does that make sense? Does that, does that tell you that they're beginners? I mean, think about it. If you have to preach about safety and motorcycling, probably this section of motorcycling is not the right audience for you to go after, because they're the most experienced. I mean, they're the guys that, they're the ones that put like 200,000 miles on bikes. They ride a whole lot.